Okay, I'm now talking to Philip DesAutels of the AllSeen Alliance. Philip, talking about the Internet of Things, it's been said that the future of the IoT is based around interoperability and silo mentality can no longer play. What's your view on this?
You know, we've seen this evolution in connected products, smart connected products, where first I connect them and I build an island. I have an app and a device or a program and a device, and it's very much the remote control world. And we went from that to realizing we could connect those via the cloud because we had the inevitable cloud service with the app, and that created kind of an archipelago of connected devices. But they really don't work together. I don't want to push a button in an app, wait 2 seconds to see something turn on. Even worse, I don't want to have to depend on 3 different clouds to make some interaction happen. Mm-hmm. What we really want are devices to talk to each other in local environments to create experiences. We don't know what users are going to do with their devices, but we know they're going to want to assemble them into really unique configurations to solve problems, right? At the end of the day, we're not buying devices for the devices, we're buying devices for the utility that they deliver.
Yes.
And so interoperability, regardless of the radio and the chipset and the technology involved, is what's going to give us that. We have that interoperability now, every one of us does in our pockets, right? We open up a cell phone and there's a whole bunch of magic sensors and other APIs enabled in those cell phones. And an app developer doesn't say, gee, I wonder which cell phone you have. They just say, okay, I know it's going to have a camera. I know it's going to have this set of capabilities in it. And so I can write an app that brings that utility to you on your phone. And by the way, I can make it interact with other apps in a very standard way. We want that same thing in the IoT, and that is really through interoperability, through devices and apps being able to talk to each other and create the value that users want in that space.
It's a fundamental concept. Is it actually happening?
I think it is. As we walk around CES here, this year, you see a lot less of the pure island. Mm-hmm. You still see a lot of the archipelago model evolving. I think that's still working its way through the system. But the companies that are talking to their users and they're really thinking about what the users' problems are that they're solving, not just creating technology for technology's sake. Those companies looking at the user space and what they're going to deliver to those users in terms of value are really working hard to make their products work with other products. And there are a few different groups working on what interoperability means, but the fact that as we walk all across CES, we see people looking at interoperability and kind of the value that comes out of products from that, that really is exciting to see.
All right then, and which groups of companies do you think it will be that are going to shape the IoT? Is it the service providers? Is it the telcos? Is it the mega electronics companies? Who's going to actually form this infrastructure that we're looking at in the next 5 years or so?
It's been interesting. It started with the companies building the things. And the companies building the things have been pushing ideas into the market. This ethereal concept of IoT has created products that may or may not solve problems, but they're interesting products and they've been pushed out into the market. We're now starting to see the other side of that happen. Users are realizing that if they had some of these products and they work together, they could create interesting scenarios for themselves. I've heard some really interesting ones, like I have an older parent who lives with me, and I want to make sure that they're safe, and so when the stove is on, I want to give them a visual clue. Well, the stove manufacturer and the lighting manufacturer aren't going to work together, so I really need to have somebody pull that use case in and then deliver that use case to me. And we're seeing that come now from the people who are talking to the customers. The customers are talking to their channel and saying, hey, here's the problems I have. So retailers, I think, are going to play one of the major roles in this. They, at the end of the day, are the ones assembling the stories and marketing it out to the consumer market, to the consumer in the market. And so I think the retailers are going to be the primary point that will then pull through the service providers and the other pieces of this channel to deliver this value that we at least all think is here in the IoT.
Well, AllSeen seeing this, aren't you? Because you have several major retailers who are taking on an important role within the Alliance.
The large retailers are hearing from their customers the problems they want solved, and they've had smart connected products in their stores, and they're hearing, hey, these aren't quite doing what we want more, we want this to come together. At the same time, these retailers, when they hear these problems that their customers want solved, are also seeing the opportunity for service and additional, additional value in their offerings to the consumer. And so that combination of additional business that they can bring to themselves and value that they can bring to their customers is rippling back through the chain, through the alliance, to the companies building the products and creating a real pull. And we're starting to really feel that pull in the marketplace. And we've seen some big announcements from various retailers. I'll pick the Lowe's Iris announcement as a great example of a retailer creating solutions, packaging them up, and putting them out in market in a way that mom and pop can get. It doesn't take an engineer to bring an Iris solution to market.
The big computer giants already hold the key to a lot of people's lives, their music, their communications, many, many aspects of how they live. Is there a danger that this could become a honeypot for hackers, do you think? Are we looking at a dangerous future?
I think if we're not careful, we are looking at a dangerous future. We've seen the model go well and we've seen the model go bad. And there's a certain amount of openness that is absolutely necessary here to create an ecosystem. And so, whether we look at, an iOS or an Android ecosystem for apps, those ecosystems are, they're not closed, they're not open, they're somewhere in between, and they're well managed. And this is probably a good model, right, for how this comes. They're well curated, there's trusted parties. I get my apps, I know they're not going to be nefarious. If there's a problem with them, they're going to get pulled so that I don't have to worry about that risk. And so at some level, those are big companies managing those. But at another level, any company can build an app and push it into the store as long as they fit the criteria of that. In the IoT, especially in the consumer IoT, I think we have to depend on that same model coming forward, where products are open and apps are open, and I as a user can choose the products and apps I want, and I don't have to be constricted into one company's view of the world. As soon as one company, especially a large company who makes money on the back end side of that process, gets hold of the protocols, the infrastructure of the IoT, I think we're all going to suffer, and we've seen that over and over again. We can go back in history and look at things like Prodigy or CompuServe and their closed worlds. And we can look at companies who made successful transitions from those closed worlds. AOL was a closed world of hyper content, or hypermedia content, and then AOL became the portal to the internet. Yes. And that was a quick transition where they created a curated openness. And in this IoT space, I think consumers are going to depend on and look for that curated experience, but the openness to make the choice and create the configurations they want.
Okay, let's just finish off, because I believe you have a slight hesitation often about using the phrase the Internet of Things, don't you? You have a different view.
I do. The Internet of Things is just, it's a magic phrase. It's like saying the web or the auto industry. It means a lot of things to a lot of people. When I think about this, there's smart connected products. And smart connected products is a term I've started using a lot more to distinguish that piece of IoT from the IoT that is smart cities, or the IoT that's the industrial IoT, because those are all parts of the IoT too. But if we use the IoT for all of that in one context, it's completely impossible to fully understand what it means.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thank you very much for that, Philip.
Super. Thanks.